What's the spin?
Well, mining companies, they're advertising nonsense like a CSG well is the size of a tennis court. What they're not telling people, that yes, that's the well itself, that area is about the size of a tennis court. They can legally put CSG wells in, I think it's roughly every 800 metres. That's how close they can be. But then, of course, there's all the there's the compressor stations. There's the pipes connecting the CSG wells. There's access roads. I have seen aerial shots of the Tara chinchilla gas fields. It's horrendous.
It's criminal.
Absolutely criminal. And people out there are becoming so ill. And the government and the mining companies have just gone into denial.
What sort of illnesses?
There are young children out at Tara who they're not only having nosebleeds, but they're bleeding from the ears. They've got skin rashes the likes of I've never seen. There's another a landowner, a fellow by the name of Brian Monk, and his property, his intention was for all 3 generations to be living on that property, and he can't even, his grandchildren can't be bathed in the water. Their skin turns red, they scream in pain. Now, why is this happening?
Part of the footprint that you mentioned, part of that footprint is the actual water that they draw up when they're drawing up that coal seam gas.
Yes.
So one of the waste products of the whole mining process is actually all the water that they draw up. And here within the Ipswich area, Marburg, Swanbank, all those areas, that the subsoil layers the water is actually coming from is actually quite saline. So one of the things that we're looking at, and I know that's a problem out west as well, I'm not so sure in the Lismore North Coast area or Scenic Rim, but certainly in this area that water would be quite saline. So the issue of that removal of that waste is how do we get rid of that brine. So I just attended a parliamentary hearing on Friday where one of the things under the Mines Legislation Streamlining Act that was introduced, they're actually going to allow that wastewater to be taken off-site. At this moment in time in Queensland, the water can't be taken off-site, it must be treated on-site where the well is.
Yeah.
That allowance of allowing that water to go off-site would mean that it can be treated centrally. And that's what they're advertising as a good reason for allowing that in legislation. What I pointed out to them is that's going to have further impacts within this area because, for instance, the Arrow-Surat Basin project is having difficulties trying to get rid of its wastewater, and one of the things that they've muted is trucking that water across the range and bringing that all the way here to Swanbank so they can get rid of the brine and treat the salty water here at Swanbank. So then you've not only got the gas pipeline coming from North Coast New South Wales, but you've got the trucks or pipelines for the wastewater from out west coming into Swanbank as well. So we essentially become the dumping ground industrial site of the whole North Coast New South Wales, Southeast Queensland region.